again, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about the human condition part 2, which is basically in international versions part 2 and the Japanese versions parts 3 and 4. Because I explained in the other video, the Japanese version has got the 6 parts, the international version has got the 3 parts. So I'm trying to cover everything so you know what I'm talking about. This is the middle section of the story where the character goes into the army. Basically, I'm doing these videos as I watch them. So I've done the first one, I'm doing this one, haven't seen the final 2 parts. The final 2 parts will probably come next week as a video. I haven't seen them yet, and I'm probably not going to watch them until either the weekend or beginning next week. It's like, it's a very demanding film, so I don't want to kind of rush through it and just push through to get a video out. I'd rather watch it at my own pace and actually because I'm watching the 2-parters. I'm doing the Japanese way, which is hour and a half, 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 hour and a half. And it works better for me, so I'm sort of doing it at my own pace really, so that's why it's taking some time. Plus it's a very demanding series, so you kind of want to enjoy is not the right word, but you want to actually give it its due. So the human condition part 3 and part 4 is all about Kaji after he has been his exemption has been taken away from him. So now he's a person in the army. So the first half of the film is about him in basic training, and the second half really is about him really in the army and how the army functions. Or really it's more like the first hour's basic training and the rest of it's about him in the army. It's one thing you notice straight away is how, this is like a very simple structure. What you get in a lot of war movies is basic training in the war. It's something that it was done in war movies for America at the time. It's been done in a lot of retro war movies, like in Full Metal Jacket, this film was a big influence on when you see it, and even parodying Starship Troopers. It's the whole idea is this is something that's a staple of genre. You start in the basic training, then you get into the hell of war. It could be seen as a cliche, but at the time it wasn't that big a cliche. That was just a convention. But also this one does it very differently. It's kind of like Full Metal Jacket in a way that it's taking what you expect, but it's subverting them and showing you the kind of reality and the brutality below the convention, and showing you how what's actually there has a reason, but also is something that supports a societal structure that's corrupt and base and is not wanting to move on at all. One of the things I've been noticing, and now we can't really avoid spoilers now, so I'm not going to try and bother since we're now in the second part of the story. You see a lot of it is about this series about the dehumanisation of people within societies, within certain societies. So in the first film, you've got the dehumanisation of someone in industry. It's like how industry will destroy you, especially at that time when the way of doing things was pretty brutal. It was a very much a kind of the working class route, so how the working classes are abused by the richer classes, and how there was a lot of tensions there, and just the brutality of it all, because this was they were using methodology that wouldn't have been out of place in like Victorian England. It was like, you're here, you're getting paid by us to do a job, it's going to be hellish for you, so tough. In this section, it's like what's happened to the army. With all these people who are now been sent to fight a war that's even more dehumanising than what we saw in the first one, and even more brutal, because now Kaji's in a situation where he does not have power. He is powerless in a system. Before he had power, he had some protection. Life was brutal for him, but he had some protection, some set of problems that he had some backup to fight with. Now he doesn't have that. Now he has nothing. He really is the guy who is the bottom of the totem pole. But because he's smart, the people in the doing the base camp realise this guy's smart. We can kick him around a little bit, but he is good. He can, he's a good sniper, he's good at tactics, he knows what he's doing, he's intelligent. So they're only going to push him so far. They're going to let him know that they don't like him because he's a communist. But they also know that he might go far, and the people in charge of the base camp obviously see him as an officer type, someone who can rise up in the ranks and lead. So that they're not going to be that brutal to him. But it's still a brutal regime, and it shows you how this regime, in the Japanese system at the time, just dehumanises everybody. It's just like, we're taking away your personality, we're taking away everything that makes you you. What we're going to give you is lots of simple training, nothing too spectacular, just sniping and lots of running and learning how to know your place and bow to your leaders and go on guard and things like that, and just basically to know your place. It's much less about tactics, because it's not like the high army. It's not like something you'll see in a, like if someone's trained to be a SEAL or something, they go through a lot of tough stuff to be able to do something that's top level. No, this is just to be a grunt, you know, to be cannon fodder. And to be cannon fodder, you have to be beaten down so that you know your place. You know your place is to be cannon fodder, and you know your place is to be a part of this machinery that's going to move forward and expand the Japanese Empire. But at this point in the story, everyone knows that Japan is collapsing. It's like the war's like Germany is falling by. This is like 1944. Most of this takes place in 1945. Germany is in the back foot. It's getting trashed through Europe. Everybody's waiting for Germany to fall, you know. And then once Germany falls, everyone's going to turn around Japan. So they know they're in a war that they're probably not going to win. But that does not mean the system's going to stop. The system's going to keep going and keep insisting it's right. And if you're someone who's a little cog in the machine, no matter how much you try and force your humanity on it, it does not want that humanity. It does not. It will break you to keep your humanity to be seen as worthless. And this is a real condemnation. This film's a real condemnation of the way the Japanese structure, Japanese society at the time viewed individuals. They viewed them as people who were just a pest. Just know your place. Just know that you have to spread the mantra of, I must do everything. I must be a good soldier for the Japanese way of life. That I am one part of the expansion of the Japanese way of life, the Japanese ideology. You know, it's that thing that's get utterly trashed by life, by the machine. And Kashi's trying to rebel against it, but he's only doing it in subtle ways, because he can't really go that far. He knows basically that he will be crushed. Because he's viewed as a communist, he will be crushed if he tries to push himself onto the machinery too much, so he has to step back a little bit. And you're seeing him seeing the system. And the system really is the people who are the veterans get to abuse any of the new folk. They can abuse them, tell them to do whatever they want. Because they're the veterans, they're the people who have been trained. They were there before the war started, they know what it's about. And because they can know they're just cogs in the machine, they're probably going to die as well. Because they can see where the war's going. They are sadistic, they are brutal, because they know their lives are meaningless, so they will be brutal to give some meaning to their lives, so they will be nasty to the people they're training. They will make them do silly things, they will make them feel like they are worthless. They are absolutely the worst people you can imagine. It is utterly, it's utterly destructive to any cohesion in these people. But because they need them for their expertise, no one's going to tell them no. So the command structure just lets them be, really, and will not defend any of the new recruits from them. So it's a horrible situation that Kaji finds himself in. And there's one recruit who's got glasses who is just not meant to be there. He does not have the stuff. He's not a soldier. He has no abilities. He can't shoot. He's not fit. He can't run for too long. He's small. He's just not. He should not be in a war. He's not set for a war. And you just see him utterly brutalised by the system. Again, when I said this is an influence on Full Metal Jacket, this is where it is, where you see this guy, sort of like Corporal Pearl in Full Metal Jacket, is utterly abused by the command structure and the training techniques, and it becomes just a shell of a man, as his sense of meaning in life is totally destroyed because he's been through this horrific system which will just then force him into a war he doesn't want to be part of. So it's pretty good. I mean, Kubrick watched films all the time. There's no way he did not see this film. But it's not like it's a simple like rip-off or anything. I mean, Full Metal Jacket is based on the Short Timers, which had this incident as well. This is a common incident in the army during the time of war. And Kubrick was careful not to go too close. It was like, it's a similar theme, but there's similar bits there. Like, the suicide takes place in the toilets of the character who can't take it anymore. But of course, a different society that's doing it. Everything else is different. You know, because in Kubrick's one it's much more theatrical, and this one it's much more quiet, and he is brutalised in a much worse way actually. The guy he is brutalised much worse way. It's like constant from people telling him he's incompetent, he's useless. And it's also the veterans make sure that no matter what anyone does, they will sabotage it so they can find fault with the recruits. And Kaji knows he just has to live with it and has to be a good soldier no matter what and just try and survive. That's his big thing, is try and survive. That's all he's trying to do. And this other guy can't survive, so he ends up in suicide in an amazing sequence. It's very different from Full Metal Jacket, but it's a very unique sequence despite the fact that both take place in the lavatory and are both basically a similar scene. But this one is based only in suicide, it's not based on murder as well, like Full Metal Jacket was. But it's the same feeling of intensity of someone who cannot take it anymore. And the way his body's treated after it is horrifying. It's just a total condemnation of the way the Japanese military was, and the way the arrogance of the Japanese at the time, that they felt that they were worth something more than everyone else around them. And the way that meant that even the people who were at the top of the military thought they were better than any Japanese, even though they were a sinking ship, and they kind of knew it, but they used that to allow sadism. So it's in the middle part of this film, Kaji now goes to war, and he has to learn the techniques of war. And basically what happens is he goes on guard duty for months, and he's covering a swamp area in Manchuria where he has to just be on guard and just watch for any attacks, and that's all he does. Is basically there's no war. Now what's really good about this film is it keeps the war so far away from them for so long. There's so much boredom in their lives. It becomes a case of the sadism on each other, the way they're awful on each other as they constantly wait. So it becomes this need for violence within the structure of the society that just picks each other, just back to each other because they're waiting and you're waiting and waiting. And anybody who's a bit different will just be brutalised. Kaji's smart enough not to be too different. You know, someone else who's also a communist who gets the brunt of a lot of the abuse more than Kaji does, because Kaji is much more of a... he states as he doesn't believe in his system, but he doesn't believe that the communists will be much better, because at this point, because he's seen how the systems work rather than just the ideology, he views it as it's the way society works rather than just the ideology they're following that it becomes a problem. It's the way people are that becomes part of the corruption. So he is no... So even though he believes in communist ideology, he knows that's going to be flawed too. So he's not like naive about it. The other guy who's a communist is a bit more naive, and he does not share that view. He wants to defect and go to the other side. And Kaji's like, well, what would you be to them? You're just a deserter for them. You're nothing. So Kaji knows how screwed he is, so he just keeps fighting for his own side. The other guy eventually defects in a terrific sequence going through this swampland. And it's just a wonderful middle ground of the film where you're seeing a lot of stuff taking place, which is the explanation of the craziness of the situation, which is defecting is kind of useless. Surviving is kind of useless because the cynicism of the vets makes it impossible. The top command can't really do anything against the vets because they need them in a fight. And it's just been trying to find humanity amongst the ranks, and even that's difficult because the political pressures compromise any friendships that was made. I mean, Kaji sees his wife once during one wonderful scene where she visits him once and they're in a storehouse for one night. And that's a beautiful scene. And what's really interesting is, after we went through the first film, they're now much more committed to each other, they know each other a lot more. And it's much more of a genuine relationship now than it ever was in the first film. Which means it's something to genuinely lose. And it's something that keeps Kaji going to get back to his wife. Still, he becomes friendly with a nurse. And that may have gone a romantic direction if they were split apart. Because at some point Kaji gets injured and he has to go to the hospital for it, and she's seen at the hospital. And he's friendly with the nurse, but the society, even within the hospital, means that it's militarised. There's no humanity, there's no kindness. You're here for a reason, then you're going to sent away again. There is no decency in the hospital system. There's just no decency anywhere. This is an expansionist empire, and to be kind is to be cruel, is really the thing. You know, any kindness is a cruelty because you have to go back to war and you're going to be brutalised by life, so why be kind to anyone? Just know your job and get on with it. So it creates a lot of madness within the societies, and people are slowly more and more isolated and more self-destructive. But in very subtle ways, they just comes out in subtle ways. Every so often someone explodes, but most of the time they're just trying to survive. The second half of the film, Kaji meets his pal from the beginning of the first film, who is now a commander in the army. He's risen up the ranks because he's intelligent. They saw he was officer material, and he rose up the ranks, but Kaji can't because Kaji is viewed as a communist and has a lot of stuff in his file saying only promotes so far this guy because he's dodgy. But because this guy knows that they're going to lose, the friend now has to deal with the delusions of the top brass who think that they're still going to win. He can still win even as Germany has fallen, because Germany falls halfway through this film, so they all know everyone's coming after them, the Russians are coming after them, everyone's coming for them. But nobody is going to admit defeat. They should just surrender. No one's going to admit that. They're going to fight till the end. The society is focused on fighting. It's going to be brutal. But so Kaji's like just keeps on with his way of doing it, and the other guy's getting more and more depressed. He's trying to be kind, but he also has to know that he needs the veterans for the war, so he can only protect Kaji a little bit. He also asked Kaji to bring in the new recruits that are coming in. There's a lot of new recruits coming in who are older people, so they're starting to recruit people who were exempt before because of their age. Now they're getting brought in for the last push because there's nowhere else left, everyone else has been killed. You know, this is a society that's destroyed its youth, it's destroying its future, now it's just destroying the stable parts of society, which is the older people. So a society in self-destructive mode, and it's just destroying itself completely by bringing these old people in who just don't have the stuff. And they're all kind of working class, really, because those are the first people who will get brought in, even if they should be exempt, to the fight. So Kaji tries to treat them more humanely in the barracks, but train them properly in the field, because Kaji is a good soldier ultimately. So he will train them, he will not put away nonsense from them as he's training them, but he will treat them with kindness when it's not necessary for him to be cruel. It's a different approach. The veterans hate this, and the veterans pretty much go to war with Kaji and his people, try to destroy them, have a lot of petty reasons to be cruel to them. And Kaji just has to live with it. And he has to say to his people, look, you just have to live with this. This is not right, but this is just life at the moment. Just try and survive. Just hope we surrender before we get to war, and hope we survive this horrible nightmare. And the whole situation with him there is he's just trying to survive a situation. He's no longer sending letters to his wife because he doesn't want to lie to her about what's going on. Because he can't lie to her and say things will be fine. He doesn't believe they're going to be fine. And it becomes this nightmare for him of trying to keep move on. And he's now facing a reckoning where he realises that what he did in the first film with getting an exemption, and then but still basically helping the military by creating the weapons, by getting it over for the weapons, was an act of cowardice. It was a basic betrayal of his country, not fighting against what was a real problem, which was the military. And so he's kind of reckoning with that. He realises where he was a coward before, but his friend tells him that fighting against the military is useless at the moment. They're in a charge. There's no way to defeat this. This is, there's no way to work within the military to try and improve it at the moment. It's just there's no way. It's just they're on a path and that's it, and they're going to be bullheaded and focus that path. There's no way to destroy the veterans, get rid of the veterans, because there's no one else to replace them anymore. But everyone's just stuck with what they've got. His best to do is just try and survive it. Kaji tries to, but he's still got his own personality, so he will keep rebelling. So it becomes about the futility of fighting against oppression, but the need for it at the same time, and of something's ingrained in your system now. Because of the first film, Kaji's gone from a theoretical humanist to a real humanist. So it means he's more realistic, and he understands what life is, but he still can't turn off his ideals. So you see, he does not want to be an animal. As explained in the first one, do you want to be an animal or do you want to be an actual human being? And Kaji will keep sticking to his idealistic views, even if some of the people he's defending against the vets he doesn't actually personally like. He thinks some of them are awful. And he likes other ones, so he's kind to them all. Even the people he does not like, he will be kind to. There's one guy who's the son of a military man who is trying to prove something to his father, and he's totally focused on the military side of it. He's very inhumane, and he just has no knowledge of life, and he has no appreciation for what his other fellow soldiers have gone through, because they came from having a life to be in the army and they're older people. He has no appreciation for them or what they've learned. So people that he has to defend even though he can't stand them. And he has to try and help these people in their 40s. Now, they should not be in this army, they should not be there. But he's still trying to keep it going. The final section really is the final war. The war as the Russians invade Manchuria, and he has to... So the Japanese have not surrendered, and they're not going to surrender until they're forced to, so they're going to have to fight these Russians even though they're outmanned. They don't have the equipment. I mean, they have to send people to command to get bullets, and they don't have many bullets to shoot against these blooming Russians. So after all this training, they're running out of bullets, and they have to use their bayonets a lot of the time, and it's insane. And the Russians come and utterly destroy them. I mean, it's barely a fair fight. I mean, the Russians just totally decimate them, and that's wonderful sequences. Like half an hour long, it's so brutal and so unsentimental. Everybody you've seen in the film gets wasted. I mean, there's only like Kaji at the end left, from what I can gather. Some of his recruits go mad, a lot of the other soldiers go crazy. His friend was killed off screen. It's reported dead off screen. The veterans were being reported killed and massacred. His whole troop, because he was sent away with his troops to dig ditches. And then and his friend was planning to send him back to Manchuria, for him to land in Manchuria to be closer to his wife before the big push, but the big push came too quick. So his old troops get his area where he was located is decimated. He's on the front lines, and he's in a battle where everybody gets killed, and it's just unsentimental. It's just bang, bang. You see people falling, you've gotten to know a little bit during the film. No sentimentality. And it shows you the kind of big flaw in Saving Private Ryan. That first sequence we see all the bullets and stuff. Oh yeah, it's horrific. You don't know anybody. But because here you know the people getting killed, it's much more brutal, the violence. Because these are people you know what their hopes were, what they wanted, how they wanted to survive. And you know that they should not be there. And yet they've been utterly massacred, they're getting blown up. Like the whole body blown up, they're getting shot, one or two are going mad, and you can tell they're terrified because they know they shouldn't be there. See, this is a much more affecting film. I think it's a film that the war scene in the end influenced Terrence Malick, The Thin Red Line, because it feels much more like what Malick was doing there, where it was just like people trapped in a landscape get utterly decimated, and it was like nature was unsentimental, really. And just showing the fear of people as they try and survive this horrible, horrible thing that's coming at them. At the end, basically Kazu has to actually kill people here. This family has to kill people and sort of sacrifice his soul to actually kill people. He's never killed anyone before. Now he has to actually do it and shoot someone as a sniper, and you can see there's a loss to his soul when he does that. Like, he has actually murdered somebody. To him it's murder, obviously. And he has to kill one of his own men as they're going crazy. As he and his few survivors are trying to hide from the Soviets as they hunt down the remaining Japanese soldiers. He has to kill one of his own men because they've gone crazy. And that's another decimation. And basically at the end of it, he's wandering through the landscape, thinking himself an animal. The most brutal ending you can think of for this film. It's just a masterpiece. This is an amazing film. I'm not sure which one I prefer, this one or the first one. The first one has its merits, and this one is more brutal. This one seems more clear where it's going from A to B. The first one, I think the first one was slower, but the first one had some more decimate. The first one had a lot of incidents throughout that was really haunting. This one is leading you slowly through the boredom to the decimation. So the different structures to the stories, even though it's one big story. So I'm not quite sure which one I prefer yet, but they're both amazing, they're both wonderful. I'd highly recommend both of them. But this is why I'm probably not going to watch the next one till next week, because I want a break before I finally get to the last one, which is all about the Russians and what happens with them while he's in Manchuria. So I don't know. So that's all I know about it. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm kind of dreading it at the same time, because I don't know how brutal the first two parts were. I expect more brutality in this part, so I'm kind of putting it off slightly just now, but we'll see when I watch it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it wasn't too rambling. It was really good to talk about it after seeing it, because there's a lot in this film. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be back later with another video. Right, bye for now.